Tired of your camera deciding everything for you? Let's unlock its full potential today. This is Photography Explained podcast episode 211, Master Your Camera Modes, a simple guide to auto, aperture, shutter and manual settings. Ever wonder why your camera sometimes nails the shot in auto, yet other times your brilliant photographic idea falls flat? It's all about how much control you have and how much you let the camera decide. So your camera's shooting modes are your direct gateway to greater creative expression. They bridge the gap between simply snapping a picture and intentionally crafting an image that reflects your vision. Moving beyond auto, or whatever it's called, allows you to tell the camera what's genuinely important to you, whether that's freezing action, blurring a background, or taking complete, meticulous command of the light. Each mode offers a distinct balance of automation and your input, and it's designed to help you achieve specific photographic results without getting bogged down in every single setting. Auto modes are convenient and great for beginners, and for folk who can't be bothered to use other modes. And if that's you, and you're happy with this, then that is of course fine. But for specific creative or precise technical results, you must explore other modes. Auto decides everything, often sacrificing your creative vision for a safe exposure. And this can lead to unpredictable results, and it limits your ability to do stuff like intentionally blur backgrounds, emphasize fine details, create motion blur, take long exposures, and of course, let's not forget, manage tricky lighting. Sticking to auto also stops you from truly understanding how light, aperture and shutter speed relate, and also ISO. For me, it's more aperture and shutter speed, but I'll come on to that later. Understanding these modes means you can stop guessing and start creating with purpose, which will result in you creating better photos and also more consistent photos. And this is the first time I started to get consistency when I used one of these modes. Other than full auto, program, manual, aperture priority and shutter priority modes, there are lots of scene-specific modes. I'm not talking about those here, but these are things like landscape, portrait, HDR, rabbit in the headlights in a snowstorm, that kind of thing. All sorts of scene-specific stuff. And I'm not talking about these for one reason and one reason only. And it is this: I've not used any of those modes in decades, if ever. I know that sounded a bit dramatic, didn't it? Right, so that was the longer than ever introductory bit. Hi and welcome to the Photography Explained podcast, and a very good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, wherever you are in this world of ours. I'm your host Rick, and in each episode, I try to explain one photographic thing to you in plain English in less than 27 minutes-ish, without the irrelevant details. And I'll try for less than 27 minutes-ish this episode. I need to try harder after the last one, don't I? I'm a professionally qualified photographer based in England with a lifetime of photographic experience, which I share with you in my podcast, How Utterly Splendid. So today we're diving into the heart of your camera's control, its shooting modes. That dial on the top of your camera with letters like M, AV, TV, P, and that green square. And there's lots of other symbols, aren't there? We're going to break down exactly what each of these modes mean, not the scene-specific ones, when to use them, and how understanding them gives you immense creative power over your photos. This isn't about complex theory, it's about practical use to get the shots you want every time. How utterly splendid, let's do this. So here are 5 top tips for understanding and using your camera modes. Okay, number 1, auto mode. The green square explained. This is your camera's basic brain. So yeah, I want to start with fully auto mode, and that's normally marked with a green square or the term auto on your camera's dial. With this mode, your camera makes every single decision for you. That's aperture, shutter speed, ISO, flash, even white balance. It's designed to give you a correctly exposed image without any input from you. So when would you use this mode? Quick snapshots, when you just need to capture a moment without thinking, like when your dog does something unexpectedly cute. If you give your camera to a non-photographer to take your photo, give them auto mode and they won't have to worry about stuff, because they're probably used to taking photos with a phone, aren't they? So they'll appreciate one button. Unexpected moments, that's when a scene unfolds quickly and there's no time to fuss with settings. It's better to get a photo taken with auto mode than to miss a photo faffing around getting your settings right, isn't it? Other times you'll use it if you're an absolute beginner, or if you can't be bothered to use anything else. It's fine. If you don't want to use anything else, it's fine, but you are restricting yourself. And here are the downsides. You've got no creative control. The camera's aiming for a technically correct exposure, but it might not be the best for your artistic intent. It might not give you what you were wanting. It will give you an average result based on all the information it's got. Now, let me give you some specific examples. It might use a high ISO in good light, which gives you unwanted noise. Or it might choose a wide aperture that blurs out too much when you don't want it to. So if you're a beginner just starting out, nothing wrong with using auto mode, but listen on and find the other modes that you can use. Tip 2, program mode, or P. This is intelligent auto, and this is... You can think of this as your camera's smart assistant. And no, that's not P for professional. This is an intelligent auto, and it's a very useful stepping stone from full auto. Your camera still chooses aperture and shutter speed for correct exposure, but it gives you control over other important settings like ISO, flash, and white balance. And crucially, in program mode, you can shift the settings, meaning you can rotate a dial to choose different combinations of aperture and shutter speed, giving you the same exposure, but you're starting to consciously choose aperture and shutter speed. And this is the point. You're going from full auto, it's doing everything for you. In program, you can input and you can change, but you're still getting the technically averagely correct exposure. It's a good stepping stone. When would you use program mode? When you need a faster workflow, when you need a quick, reliable exposure, but you want to manage things like ISO to control noise or to force a flash on or off. And also when you're using exposure combinations, it's a great way to see how aperture and shutter speed relate, as you can change one and the camera will change the other one to maintain the correct exposure. So it's a great learning playground. And for general shooting, if you're just wandering around taking photographs and you don't want to faff with the camera settings, use program. I do it if I'm on holiday and I'm just wandering around snapping things, and there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it at all. Use it if you want to. Program mode is a step up from auto, giving you flexibility without you having to set everything yourself, but you're still getting the help of the correct exposure. Right, number 3, aperture priority mode. A or AV. Master your depth of field, control the blur, and get the highest quality that you can. Aperture priority is often labelled A on the dial, which is A for aperture, or AV for aperture value. This is where you choose the aperture and your camera automatically selects the appropriate shutter speed for a correct exposure, and you've set the ISO beforehand. Why would you use this? Well, aperture controls 2 main things. The first one is depth of field, or depth of sharpness as I like to call it. And this is the range in a photo that is sharp from front to back. Now, a wide aperture, which is a small number like f1.8 or 2.8, that gives you a shallow depth of field. This blurs the background beautifully, isolating your subject, and it's perfect for portraits, but not if you want to photograph a landscape. The narrow aperture, which is a large f number like f8 or f16, that gives you a deeper depth of field, keeping much more of the scene from front to back sharp, and it's ideal for landscapes or group photos. But you might not want that when you're taking a photograph of somebody, because everything's in focus. You blur the background when you're photographing somebody, they're more prominent. It depends what your subject matter is and how you want the photo to look. So aperture also controls light. A wider aperture lets in more light, which is incredibly useful in low light conditions where you don't want to increase your ISO too much, which you shouldn't do, but you need to do the balance with depth of field and also your shutter speed, don't you? So it takes some thinking about. And there's the other matter of the sweet spot on a lens, the aperture which gives you the highest quality image capture with the minimum of optical errors. Every lens has optical errors, it's just a fact. The most expensive lens in the world will have a sharper bit than the other bits. On my lenses, f8 is my sweet spot, so that's what I use. So that's why I use AV mode, because it works for me. More on that in a bit. When to use AV mode. Portraits to blur backgrounds and make your subject pop, incredibly effective. Landscapes to ensure everything from a foreground flower to a distant mountain is sharp. Or anything else, obviously. In low light to open up the lens and gather as much light as possible. And for architectural photography, I like what I do. Yep, AV is a fantastic mode for creative control over focus and background blur and image quality. Okay, number 4, shutter priority mode, S or TV. This is where you can control the motion, you can freeze it, you can blur it, or anything in between. Shutter priority is usually marked S for shutter, or TV for time value, and that's on Canon cameras. Why time value? Why not S for shutter? Come on, Canon. In this mode, you choose the shutter speed and your camera automatically selects the appropriate aperture for a correct exposure. And again, you've already set the ISO, so you're in charge. So why shutter speed mode? Well, the shutter speed primarily controls one thing, which is motion. A fast shutter speed, such as 1/500th of a second or 1/1000th of a second, this will freeze action. Think sports, people running, birds in flight, that kind of thing. Anything moving fast. And faster shutter speeds are great for ensuring sharp handheld shots when you're worried about camera shake. Slower shutter speeds, such as 1/30th of a second, 1 second, 2 seconds, 4, 8, 12, 16, 46, 89, whatever you want, they can blur motion. And you can use this creatively to get things like silky smooth waterfalls, dramatic light trails from car headlights, or convey movement in an action shot. My favourite's moving water. I love to flatten a sea. I love that effect. I'm not one for the car headlights thing. I used to do it. Not anymore. Maybe I should. Oh, I don't know. Oh, shut up, Rick. Move on. Right, when to use it. Sorry about that. Sports and action to perfectly freeze fast-moving subjects. Anything with water in it, waterfalls, rivers, anything to create smooth, ethereal, misty-looking, moving water. You can also use it with night photography to capture the streaks of car lights or the movements of stars, stuff like that. Not something that I've done, I have to say. And of course, handheld in tricky light to ensure you've got a fast enough shutter speed to avoid your own camera shake. And that might mean sacrificing some depth of field. So shutter priority is your go-to mode when controlling motion is your absolute main priority. Number 5, manual mode, M, the ultimate control. Yes, manual mode where you take full command. Manual mode is marked with an M. I don't think it's called anything other than M on any camera system, which has to be a good thing, doesn't it? And this is where you take complete control over your exposure. You set the aperture, the shutter speed, and the ISO. Your camera's built-in light meter will give you a reading, which is usually a scale in the viewfinder and on the LCD screen, which will help you to achieve a correct exposure, but it won't change the exposure. If your meter's saying you're 3 stops overexposed, that's what you're going to get. Yeah, your camera settings are what you get. So if your settings are way out, your photo will be. Yes, it really is down to you. So in aperture priority mode and shutter priority mode, you're setting the aperture, or the shutter, and the camera's setting the other one to give you the correct exposure. In manual, it's not. You're telling the camera what to do, and the results are exactly what you tell it to do, so you must remember that. When would you use manual mode? Well, when you've got consistent lighting, such as in a studio setting where you've got controlled lights, or when the ambient light isn't changing, and once you set it, you can shoot repeatedly with the same exposure. Although with ambient light, say outside, why would you choose manual? I don't really see why you would. When you would, for me, complex lighting, when the camera's automatic meter might be fooled, such as shooting a bright white subject on snow or a very dark subject, where the camera might try to make it a middle grey, because when the camera meters, it's doing an averaging function, and averaging might not work. Sometimes you've got to take over, and you'll only know that when you've taken a photo. You can use exposure compensation. That's a different way of getting to it, but that's one for another time. Or for specific creative effects, when you need very precise control over both your depth of field and your motion blur simultaneously, such as advanced long exposure photography, or when you're intentionally overexposing or underexposing for artistic reasons. And the other time you'd use manual mode is when you're learning, and this is the most powerful learning tool. And why is this, Rick? Well, it forces you to truly understand the relationship between aperture, shutter speed, and ISO. It's invaluable for mastering photography. Now, it might feel intimidating at first, but practicing in manual mode is probably the fastest way to understand how all your settings work together. It's the best way to learn the exposure triangle, or aperture and shutter in my case, because I'm not changing my ISO because I don't want to. And the other time to use manual mode, just when you want to. Simple. If you want to use manual mode, use it. There you have it, a clear breakdown of your camera's main shooting modes. Remember, there's no single best mode. It's about choosing the right tool for the job and the right tool for you and what you want out of each photo that you take. Start with what's comfortable, experiment with each one, and gradually take more control as your confidence grows. The more you understand these modes, the more command you'll have over the final look of your images. So practice, practice, practice. It's so important in photography. And I'll say it again, learn manual mode. You might not want to, and once you've learned it and you fully understand it, you might never use it again, and that's fine. But you've got it in case you need it, because if you don't and you need it, you've got nothing, have you? So please learn manual mode and then just put it back in your toolbox to use when you need it. Okay, a quick note on other camera systems. I use Canon and Olympus, but I don't use any other cameras. But other camera manufacturers, they'll have similar modes. They might have different names, but at the end of the day, all you've got is aperture, shutter, ISO, and a couple of other bits. And a stop is a stop and all that good stuff. So yeah, they might have a different name, but they're doing very much the same thing. Okay, here is something for you to do. Learn manual mode. Yes, really. I've told you why, I'm going to tell you again. If you're serious about your photography, there will be a time when you need it. And if you learn how to use manual mode and you find yourself needing it, don't forget to thank me. What if I use a phone to take photos? Well, that's a great question for this subject, isn't it? All I do with my phone camera is I use the default picture taking mode on the default camera app. I've never tried to find anything else. I've got a camera for that after all. So tell me, dear listener, am I missing out here? I suspect not, but I'm prepared to be proved wrong. So if I'm missing out, let me know. Okay, what do I do? Well, I'm a professional architectural and real estate photographer, and I take all my photos with my camera on a tripod. Image quality, sharpness, and the right depth of sharpness are my priorities, so I use AV mode or aperture priority mode. I don't really care what the shutter speed is, as what I'm photographing is not moving. Well, the building, so you'd hope not. And I use the lowest ISO, which is 100, and that is the ISO that my camera was designed to be used with. Every time you change the ISO, what you're doing is digitally amplifying the signal, and I don't want to do that unless I have to. I use P when I can't be bothered doing anything else, which is when I'm wandering around aimlessly and can't be bothered thinking about camera settings. This is never on a commercial shoot, mind. Important I say that. No, it's when I've got free time to play, or I'm on holiday and I'm carefree and I just want to lift my camera and take a photo of something because it looks interesting. Yeah, it should be called can't be bothered mode for me. And I use shutter priority mode when I need to, but that isn't often. And I use manual mode when I need to, or want to, which isn't often either. No, my approach boils down to meticulous control of everything, and let me just explain that. AV mode, so I set the aperture for the maximum sharpness, the lens's sweet spot, often f8. My ISO to the lowest possible, which is 100 on my Canon 6D for maximum quality. And then the shutter speed is what it is. And it's that simple. And this gives me ultra consistent results. Using the same aperture means that my photos look similar. Using the same mode, all the settings, it gives me consistency across images, which is very, very important to me. Other things related, precision focusing. I manually select my focus point for every shot, ensuring critical sharpness on the most important elements of the scene. And I use back button focus, which separates focus from exposure and taking the photo. For vibration elimination, I always use the built-in self-timer, which is either 2 or 10-second delay, and that avoids any subtle vibrations caused by touching the camera. And I pick the right lens for the job, which 95 times out of 100 is my Canon 17 to 40mm lens. This isn't just theory, is it? It's a practical application of taking full control of my gear to ensure every image I deliver is crystal clear, professional, and it reflects what I want from a photo. And I take every photo I can with my camera securely mounted on a tripod. Right, final takeaways and a summary for mastering your camera modes. Understanding your camera modes is crucial for creative control. Each mode offers a different level of automation and flexibility. Auto for quick, simple snapshots. Program, P. More control than auto with the ability to shift aperture/shutter speed combinations. Aperture priority, A or AV. Control image quality and depth of field. Shutter priority, S or TV. Control motion, freeze or blur. Manual, M. Full control over all exposure settings. And full responsibility for every exposure you get wrong because it's down to you as the photographer. So experiment with each mode. Practice makes perfect. And do this and you will transform your photographic technique and you'll soon be delivering professional results and capturing your vision every time. Experiment with each mode. Practice makes perfect. And this will transform your photographic technique and it will help you to deliver professional results and get what you want to get every time. Now, I know this because I've done this. I've been there. I've been through this process, and it was the first time I started to get consistency was when I started taking photos the same way. Right, not doing too bad here, are we? Some thoughts from the last episode 210. Now, there's a blank here in my script. It doesn't say anything. And I can't remember what episode 210 was, so I'm going to have to look it up quickly. How to get sharp photos every time. Beyond focusing. All I want to say about the last episode, your aim with every photo is to get the sharpest photo you can. And that will make your photos stand out from everybody else other than professional photographers. One takeaway, get the sharpest photos you can. I think I made the point there, haven't I? Next episode 212, creative use of depth of field, blurry backgrounds, sharp subjects. Yep, I'm going to dive deeper into using Aperture to control what's sharp and what's gloriously blurred in your photos. So subscribe so you don't miss it. Right, do you want to get a weekly email from me? Well, why wouldn't you? Just fill in the box on any of my websites and every Friday you'll read my photography thoughts. And if you want to ask me a question or you just want to say hi, just email me, sales@rickmcavoyphotography.co.uk. Whatever you want to say to me, it'd be lovely to hear from you. And you can even text from the podcast feed. How utterly splendid. Subscribe and never miss an episode. Yeah, if you're enjoying the podcast, subscribe now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. It ensures you get every new episode and it helps us reach more photographers. So don't delay. Subscribe today. This episode was brought to you by a cheese and pickle sandwich. I'm sorry it was. And a popular carbonated soft drink with 0 sugar in it, which I consumed before settling down in my homemade acoustically cushioned recording emporium. I've been Rick McAvoy. Thanks again very much for listening to my small but perfectly formed podcast and for giving me 27-ish minutes of your valuable time. Now, I reckon this episode is going to be about 23 minutes long after I've edited out the mistakes and the bad stuff because there wasn't too much this episode. Thanks for listening. Take care. Stay safe. Cheers from me, Rick.